What are those honors and distinctions and privileges? But now, as I get ready to leave Stonecoast myself, I think I know. You see, as you heard, sitting right behind your graduates are a clutch of writers who have published and sold books and books and shelves of books, and who know fine writing when they see it. So they and we proclaim now to everyone in this hall and to all the world that we've read those impeccably formatted theses, and they are by writers. Not aspiring writers, not wannabe writers. That is the distinction we want you to understand, families and friends. We honor them because they are truly writers. Never doubt it. Now, graduates, back to you. You are very, very different people than you were before you came to us in January of 2016. And I'm talking different, right down to the cellular level. You may have heard it said that the human body totally replaces itself every 7 years. Think of it, a brand new you, every so often, like clockwork. Actually, that's not exactly right. Yes, your cells are dying and being replaced all the time, but different parts of you are replaced at different rates. For example, the cells lining your digestive system come and go every few days. So each of you have grown a completely new stomach lining since you've arrived here, maybe more than one, depending how many times you stopped by the Broad Arrow. And life is tough on your skin, so snake-like, you've grown an entirely new hide since Christmas to shield you against unwanted literary criticism. Blood cells come and go every few months. So all that blood you sweated writing your prefaces, no big deal. Those poor corpuscles were doomed anyway. But the notion that you are an entirely different collection of cells than you were once upon a time has a problem because of what's up here. Chances are very good, if you're over 25, that you've got all the neurons in your cerebral cortex that you're ever going to have. But although you're pretty much stuck with the brain cell you've now got, you can change the way they connect. Neurologists, I'm a science fiction writer, neurologists call this capacity for rewiring yourself brain plasticity. And that rewiring is what we've been doing to you for the past 2 years. This program isn't only designed to pour some literary encyclopedia into your heads. It's not about whether you can define free indirect discourse or understand the correct use of serial commas or explain the difference between a dactyl and an anapest. This program has changed the way you think about writing, and to do that, we changed your brain. Possibly, the most critical rewiring we accomplish here is to create a habit of writing. It may be that before you came to us, you wrote when inspiration struck. Maybe you indulged in binge writing, cranked chapters or poems or essays out, and then, exhausted, laid low for a few weeks, maybe months. But that's not the way it worked here, was it? There was always a packet due every month, and when it wasn't the packets, there were submissions for the residency, over and over and over. When would it stop? Well, it stops now. You don't owe us any more writing. From now on, you owe it to yourselves. All the work you did here more than justifies the prodigious efforts you put into it. But I believe, going forward, creating a habit of writing may be the most important legacy of Stonecoast to your careers. And I'll say it again, what I said at the outset, because it bears repeating. You should get right back into it. Come February 1st, I'm hoping you'll feel good and antsy if you're not getting regular keyboard time. And why is it a good thing, this habit of writing? Well, because it gets the work done, that's obvious. But let me share a controversial opinion I've formed over some 30 years of working with writers. Talent is overrated. Since I first came to Stonecoast, there has been lots of new research into the science of expertise that attempts to document how we master difficult cognitive skills like playing the violin, excelling at chess, or writing a masterpiece. And the research all shows that whatever contribution talent might make, if it even exists, what really counts in mastery is practice and feedback. Regular practice, over and over and over. Packet after packet after packet. Of course, you can't look to Stonecoast for your feedback anymore. But that's because it's time to send your work to editors. It's time to publish. You're ready, believe me. Don't worry about whether you're talented enough to send to this market or that. Talent is overrated. When I read work by a writer I really admire, and there's many of them here in the room, I see work by a writer I really admire who, let's not put too fine a point on it, write better than I do. I don't get discouraged because I got shortchanged at the talent bank. I just indulge my writing habit and keep practicing over and over and over, and so should you. It's time for us to move on, graduates. Like you, I love Stonecoast, but there's a season for everything. Like you, I want to thank Justin and Matt, and Robin, especially in my case, who has watched out for me all these 13 years of my time here. And we graduating Stonecoasters want to thank the faculty for changing our brains and our lives. But before we go, one last assignment for you. There is a saying that goes something like this: it is a poor teacher whose students do not surpass him. I tried looking up who said that on the internets, but couldn't find a definitive attribution. Some sites claim it was the Zen master Dojin Zenji. Others assigned it to Leonardo da Vinci or Will Rogers. It is a poor student whose students, it is a poor teacher whose students do not surpass him. All of you who have worked with us have written evaluations of what we do here at Stonecoast, but I put it to you, beautiful writers, soon-to-be graduates, soon-to-be masters. You have not yet submitted your final report on our teaching because it is a poor teacher whose students do not surpass him. Go out into the wide world, my friends, and make us look good.
Thank you, James. I think this is my almost maybe 13th or 14th Stonecoast graduation, and I always think an old friend of mine who grew up in Southern California near Disneyland used to be dropped off every summer day with a pack of 15-year-olds, and they'd go on a safari ride, and they would actually sort of deliver the sort of canned jokes of the safari ride about 5 seconds before the Disney guide. And I'm always appreciative of Aaron and David and the other faculty who don't do the same here at Stonecoast, because I think they probably know the script better than I do. But anyhow, thank you. Stonecoast, as many of you know, offers 4 concentrations in creative writing, 4 genres: creative nonfiction, fiction, popular fiction, and poetry. And each year, the highlight of this graduation is that one student from each concentration is chosen as the commencement speaker for that genre. And so I have the honor of inviting each one of those students up to the stage to address their fellow students, their faculty, their friends, and our alumni. This year's commencement speakers are Peter Adrian Baravesh, popular fiction; Pat Casey, creative nonfiction; Mary Kilman, fiction; and Maxine Kupperman-Ginyals for poetry. So first, coming up and giving a speech is Peter Adrian Baravesh, popular fiction.
So I found out on Thursday that I'd be speaking right after the one and only Jim Kelly, and my first thought was, shit. Thank you, Dean Tuchinski, Justin, Robin, and Matt, wherever you are, David, Jim, esteemed faculty, fellow students, friends, family, folks who got lost on the way to LL Bean. Thank you all for coming and supporting us. My name is Peter, and for some reason the administration saw fit to make me the popular fiction speaker this year, a decision they're probably already regretting. For those of you unfamiliar with the term popular fiction, let me try to break it down real quick. You see, there's this silly false dichotomy in the fiction world. On the one hand, you've got so-called literary fiction, which is largely about folks trying to self-actualize through the clever use of navel-gazing. And on the other, you've got so-called popular fiction, which is mostly about self-actualization through the liberal application of broadswords. And yeah, on the surface, one would appear to be far more weighty than the other. I mean, what are magic and dragons and spaceships when measured against questions of gender identity, of racial violence, of climate change? But popular fiction isn't just about magic and dragons and spaceships, or even about talking warts, or energy beings, or undead babies. We use these elements to explore failed marriages, authoritarianism, depression, diaspora, and yes, gender identity, racial violence, climate change. But I have to say, no matter how you segregate the genre, it does seem to me that this whole fiction thing is kind of silly, right? Like, just between you and me, we're making this shit up. How am I doing on time? Oh God, it's only been 2 minutes. Okay, I'm going to talk to my fellow grads now, so parents and LL Beaners, please feel free to plug your ears or just be less subtle about the fact that you're all playing Candy Crush on your phones. Right. Guys, plenty of students have stood behind this podium and talked about the importance of writing. Jim just did it. I don't want to do that. I want to talk to you about the importance of not writing. And I'm no authority. I'm in the exact same position you guys are. In fact, I'm pretty sure that about 60 seconds after I shake Justin and Robin's hands, I'll be a puddled mess on the men's room floor, thinking, oh shit, now what? But if I have any advice, it's this: don't be afraid to not write. The page will always be there. Now, this isn't a call for complacency. Don't complain to me later saying you've gone a whole year without writing because I gave you permission. But do get out there and see the world, experience things, expand your mind, read outside your genre. If dragons are your thing, read about spaceships. If spaceships are your thing, read about genocide. If genocide is your thing, I don't know, maybe talk to someone about that? Anyway, my point is life is fucking short. We write to explain it. We write to escape it. We write to help other people escape it. But writing shouldn't be a leash tethering us to the page. Our writing time should be mindful. Don't be afraid to say, you know what, I need some time off today. I need to go to the zoo and chill with the platypuses. Because what even is a platypus, you guys? Okay, parents, you can open your ears now. I've gotten the cursing out of my system, I swear. And for those of you with kids along, sorry. Okay, look, despite what I said earlier, I don't actually believe that writing fiction is a silly endeavor, otherwise I wouldn't be here. And it's certainly no sillier than a cohort naming itself after a dairy-related incident. Milk bans for life. But writers are silly creatures. We teeter back and forth between towering self-confidence and crippling self-doubt, and if I'm being honest, most of the time we lean toward the latter. We need all the help we can get to keep from turning into puddled messes on the men's room floor. So give yourself permission to fail. Give yourself permission to not write. Don't take yourself too seriously. You've got this. I believe in you. I also believe that platypuses were developed by the government as some kind of Cold War failsafe. Think about it. Now go kick ass. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Seriously. I think we have, I don't know if we have as many kids here as we generally do either, so that's, they would have actually enjoyed that quite a bit, I think. The next speaker is Pat Casey for Creative Nonfiction.